Happy week 2, everybody. You did it. You got to the first full week of school. Now, if you look over here, Truman just woke up for a nap. So hopefully Truman is going to just do his thing back there and we can focus. So guys, what we are starting today, I'm super excited about. We are starting by reading the book Tangerine by Edward Bloor. Most of you should all have a copy of this. This was something that the school was passing out. And we are going to be reading through this every day. This book will probably take us about 5 weeks to get through, but this is kind of going to be our main focus for the next few weeks. Now, the first thing that we're going to do with this book is we are going to judge it by its cover. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Miss Marks, you're not supposed to do that, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. Well, there's a lot of instances where that's true, but for right now, we're going to, because that's what you do when you pick out books. So think about it. You're walking around the library or Barnes & Noble with your pumpkin spice latte in your hand, or is that just me? And you find a book, and does anyone just pick out a book and hide it behind your back and walk up to the counter and pay for it? Well, if you do, it's interesting, but it's weird. Most of us don't, right? We pick a book and we look at it and we look at the cover and we look at what it's called. If you're familiar with authors, you're going to look at the author and then you read the back. So I don't like when teachers say don't read the back of the book because it gives stuff away. Well, that's not really the way that we encounter books in our life. So we're going to look at the front. And the front, you will see there is a boy in kind of in a soccer outfit. Mark's soccer uniform, and he looked like he's blocking. Well, he's using his hands, so we know he must be a goalie. All my soccer people said a goalie. It looks like he's got like some glasses or goggles on. He's wearing a jersey that's striped. I think goalies typically have striped jerseys. And it's called Tangerine. It's kind of a weird font, it's not necessarily like pretty. It's almost kind of eerie. And then you're going to have to look at your book because it's kind of glaring. But if you'll notice, there's some kind of flames back here. It doesn't look like a super sunny day, and there's flames. So, I'm thinking it would be really weird if this book wasn't something about soccer. And there's got to be fire somehow. And that's really all that I'm knowing here. And tangerine, that's a fruit. So that's all I'm getting from the front. So go ahead, turn your book over and follow along with me on the back. It says, "Welcome to Tangerine. This place is weirder than it looks." Paul Fisher sees the world from behind glasses so thick he looks like a bug-eyed alien. But he's not so blind that he can't see there are some very unusual things about his family's new home in Tangerine County, Florida. Where else does a sinkhole swallow the local school, fire burn underground for years, and lightning strike at the same time every day? With all this chaos compounded by constant harassment from his football star brother, adjusting to life in Tangerine isn't easy for Paul. Until he loves what I read to him, you guys. Until he joins the soccer team at his middle school. With the help of his new teammates, Paul discovers what lies beneath the surface of his strange new hometown, and he also gains the courage to face up to some secrets his family has been keeping from him for far too long. In Tangerine, it seems, anything is possible. All right, so what we've learned, this is taking place in Tangerine County, Florida. Now, when I lived in Florida, I told you guys I lived there for about 10 years. This is a book I taught, and it was super relevant because I lived in Florida. So there's going to be things in here that you might not have heard of before because they don't happen in Indiana. But we know it looks like our main character's Paul. There's some crazy stuff going on in the town. He gets harassed by his football star brother. But I like the last line. In Tangerine, it seems anything is possible. So we can tell there's going to be some action. So that's kind of how we go about looking at a book, judging what a book's going to be about. The next step to being a good reader, though, is to then check yourself. So a bias is this preconceived, this feeling we already have, this belief we already have about a topic. That's what a bias is. And a bias can change how you feel or how you make decisions or how you act. Let me give you an example. My father is, he works for General Motors. And so we very much believe in American made cars. So I like to always have the big three. It's either GM, Chevy, Ford, or Dodge, right? Those are like the three types of cars that I will go spend my money on, even when I know the Toyota Corolla can last forever. Or a few years ago, it was the Subaru Outback had the best resale value ever. If it's not one of those big three, I have a bias. My dad works for an American made company. That's who I support. That's my bias, even if I'm not making the best decision. So we have to check ourselves with our biases. And let me explain to you what I mean. I might really offend some people here, and I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of soccer. I can't get into it. I love me some football. I love me some basketball. I like watching baseball. I'm terrible at it, but I like watching volleyball. Like, I like watching it. I was terrible at it in school. I'm a runner, so that's really my thing. But soccer, it's just not my thing. And so, especially when I was your age, if I was walking around the library and I picked this up and I saw a soccer ball, I'd be like, no thanks. But I can tell you this is one of the best books I've ever read. And so I have to check myself and go, okay, and it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy, if you're thinking, you know what, reading books about sports isn't my thing, but there's going to be something in here for me. So if you're someone who doesn't like reading sports books or doesn't like soccer, it's okay. There's going to be stuff in here for you. Now, if you are someone who loves soccer, that is your jam, check your bias. Because you can get so excited about this book, and I want you to be, but also this isn't just a play-by-play of this awesome like soccer season for this guy. There's more to it. What else? Maybe the thickness. Maybe you're someone who like, Miss Marks, I read books about that thick, and I'm not reading anymore. Check your bias. Check to see what is your preconceived notion about a book like this to make sure that we can all get something about this, get something from this. Now, you guys hear the sirens? This is what happens when you make videos at home. Okay, so the next thing, this is what we're leading into today, is something called an anticipation guide. So after you watch this video and before you start reading the book, there are just 10 questions that you need to answer for me, and they're super easy. It's agree, disagree. Easy. So there are these concepts that have to, themes, if you will. We'll learn more about theme later. Themes of this book that you are going to say whether you agree or you disagree with. Sounds easy, right? But we know that sometimes it's a lot easier said than done to fully agree or fully disagree. So if you are doing this at home, so you are, virtual today or you are virtual always, you are going to look at these and you're going to go, but Miss Marks, I mean, in some cases, I believe that, but not all. Tough. So you need to figure out what you feel more of. Do you more agree? Or do you more disagree? And then the last question on this form is it asks you to choose one of those statements that was really hard for you, that you felt like, man, I picked one because I had to, but I feel like in some scenarios it's true, in some scenarios it's not. I want you to explain that to me. All of you should have one that was more difficult to answer than the others, and you're going to work that out for me. But then you're going to start reading the book. Now, the last thing you need to know about reading this book is you get nothing as far as reading comprehension goes when you just listen to a book being read to you. Now, I am not bashing audiobooks. I think they're awesome. I'm listening to one in my car right now. I'm all about it. So you don't get anything as far as reading comprehension, which is really important for school. So all I ask, if you are someone like me, I like audiobooks when I'm driving or when I can't be reading, but if I can be reading, I'd much rather have it silent, have Truman next to me, and I'd rather just silently read my book. But if you are someone who, in order for it to go faster, if you are someone who would rather have it read to you, I've linked some YouTube videos. Now, they're not perfect. For example, day 1, you're only supposed to read to page 12, and yet the YouTube video goes to page 27. You're not going to read to page 27. You're not going to want to. I think that video is like 45 minutes long. You're not going to want to do that. So you need to be following along because that's where the magic happens. So even when someone's reading to you, in this case, the YouTube video, if you are following along and turning pages as you need to, you're working on your reading. You're working on your reading comprehension. That's the good stuff right there. So you'll know when you need to end too. You hit page 12, you're done. Even if Mr. YouTube man keeps talking, you're done. So make sure that you guys are following along. That's why we spent the $8.99. That's what mine says. I don't know what yours says. $8.99 on the book. Okay? Make sure you follow along. But if you need to, go ahead and listen to those while you're following along. And we will work on this more tomorrow. Peace. Truman, sleep tight, little buddy.